Hello, we are going to cover some more of the paragraph group today. And we're going to start here with our decrease and increase indent buttons. You'll notice in this particular document that I have not indented any of my paragraphs. If I hit the tab key, it's going to indent a half of an inch over. And that's going to just continue every time I hit the tab key. You'll see it'll jump exactly a half an inch. If I wanted to get rid of that action, I can hold Shift and Tab and it'll go backwards. Or I can also come up here and I can use my decrease indent button and it'll move that back, and the increase will essentially do the same thing as the Tab key. Next thing we're going to look at is the formatting marks, and the button here just says show/hide. When I click this, you're going to notice every time the enter key is hit, we get a paragraph symbol. Every time the space bar is hit, you see this little dot in between these words. And then if I hit the tab key, some versions will show you a little arrow. Okay, this one does not. These are non-printing marks, so even if you had them turned on and you hit print, they wouldn't show up. They're here just for your use. You can turn them on and off as you want. And basically what it's there for is to make sure, like let's say for example, a teacher wants you to put 2 spaces after a sentence. You could turn this on and go through and just check out one of your sentences where they end and say, okay, did I put in 2 or 1? Sometimes just eyeballing it is not as easy to tell those things. All right, then we've got in our paragraph group here, we've got our different types of alignment. So we've got left align, we've got center, which we've got our margins. Here's one margin, here's another margin. It'll perfectly center between those margins. We have the right align, which now on the right side, we have a nice straight line. You can see how paragraph is really straight right here. And then we have justify. And what you'll see with justify is it lines up on the left margin and it also lines up on the right margin. Okay, so what you'll see in here, if I turn on my formatting marks, I still only have 1 space in between these words, but some of the spaces are actually a little bigger than a normal space. And why that happens is because the line is spread out to span all the way from the left margin, which is here, to the right margin over here. Okay, the last sentence down here is not going to stretch all the way across. That'll be the only sentence in that paragraph that doesn't reach all the way across to the right margin. And you'll notice if I hit left align, the spacing on some of these is just going to shrink. So if you watch it, you can see that they shrunk a little bit. Now some of them spread out. It's just to adjust that spacing. And the final thing we'll talk about today is line and paragraph spacing. Notice that I'm not necessarily selecting the entire paragraph here. If I just click anywhere within the paragraph, I get the same adjustments are applied to that area. So keep that in mind. So for line and paragraph spacing, if I click the arrow, here I can change how much space there is in between each line. So now 1.5 points of space is between each line. So that's above this line here, above it and below it, there's been some spacing added. Another thing you'll see in this tool or this button is add spacing before or after the paragraph. So that is going to add line spacing only if it's before, it's going to be only before this top line. And if it's after, it's going to remove the spacing after this bottom paragraph here. Okay, so those are like on-off switches. Once I've added, I can click remove. Once I've clicked remove, it'll go back to saying, do you want to add space after a paragraph?